homecoming queen vote sounds harmless. Pep rally posters, teenage rivalries, a few thousand clicks on a school website. Then the FBI said a former employee of National Computer Systems helped hack one from the inside. And that is what makes this case so unsettling. It was not a presidential race, not a governor's race. It was a school homecoming election in Pensacola, Florida. But according to federal prosecutors, the same trust problem that can poison a national election showed up in miniature here. A vendor insider with old access, weak controls, and thousands of votes suddenly bending in the dark. If you like true crime tech cases where the real story lives inside court documents, subscribe. This channel follows the evidence, not the headlines. The thesis in this case is simple. Election integrity does not collapse only in giant political conspiracies. Sometimes it breaks because one trusted person never really lost the keys. The target was Tate High School's 2020 homecoming court vote. Students in Escambia County, Florida, were casting votes through software tied to a company called National Computer Systems, or NCS, a firm that handled online voting services. Federal court records say the manipulation centered on unauthorized access to that system. The man who pleaded guilty in 2024 was James Edward Ponder, a former NCS employee. Prosecutors said he had worked at the company and still knew enough about its systems to help access the platform after he was gone. A teenager tied to the case had already been accused earlier. The adult connection changed the scale of the story completely. When I read the court filings, that was the detail that stuck with me. Not the teenage drama, not the headline value. The part that hit me was this: an election vendor relationship outlived the job itself. How many organizations think former access is gone just because a person left? Investigators say the vote totals were altered enough to affect the result. In public reporting and court documents, officials said hundreds of fraudulent votes were cast for one candidate in the homecoming court contest. A popularity contest became a cybercrime scene. So how did it unfold? According to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Florida, unauthorized access was used to exploit the school voting process. Prosecutors alleged that credentials or access knowledge connected to the former vendor employee helped make the manipulation possible. The filings do not need to read like a Hollywood thriller. The facts are colder than that. Someone who should not have been inside the system was allegedly still able to influence it. And that is the part most people miss about cybercrime. The dangerous breach is often not brute force, it is familiarity. At the center of the public scandal was a student, Emily Grover, whose homecoming win was later voided after investigators said unauthorized votes had been cast in her favor. Her mother, Laura Carroll, then an assistant principal, was also drawn into the wider controversy in earlier reporting. But the federal cyber angle went beyond school gossip. It reached into the vendor side of the system itself. Let me ask you this. What is worse in a case like this? Weak technical offboarding at the vendor, or local officials trusting the platform too easily? Tell me in the comments. In 2021, local investigators and reporting by outlets including the Pensacola News-Journal began piecing together what happened. The allegation was not that someone merely campaigned harder or found a loophole in student rules. The allegation was unauthorized digital access. That moves the story from school misconduct to computer crime. And I think that distinction matters a lot. Because if the public hears school election hack and laughs it off as a teenage stunt, they miss the real warning. Systems that train people to trust digital voting do not become serious only when the electorate gets older. They are serious the moment the system decides a winner. Tense. Federal prosecutors eventually filed the case against Ponder, and in 2024, he entered a guilty plea. The plea was to charges tied to unauthorized access in the scheme to manipulate the homecoming election. That guilty plea matters because it strips away one of the easiest defenses in cases like this. The idea that the whole thing was just rumor inflated by social media. There is another reason this case matters. It gives us a rare, almost laboratory-sized example of election trust failing at human scale. No abstract debate, no giant map on TV. Just students, one school, one vendor relationship, and the basic question every election depends on. Who is allowed to touch the system? And the answer here, according to the government, was someone who never should have been able to touch it anymore. But the most disturbing part is not that a school election was allegedly manipulated. It is that this was not an outside mastermind smashing through a firewall. It was the ghost of old access, a former insider, a residual trust path. The kind of weakness that does not look dramatic on a network diagram, but can quietly decide a winner. Think about that for a second. If a tiny contest with teenage candidates can be bent through vendor-side trust, what does that say about any system where administrators, contractors, and former employees all leave fingerprints behind? This is where the story zooms out. NCS was not some random student-made app. It was a company involved in voting technology. Court documents and federal statements turned this from a local embarrassment into a case study in access governance. Remove the prom dresses and football field from the story, and what remains is a classic cybercrime pattern: stale privileges, insider knowledge, and a target that assumed the perimeter was enough. There is a bleak irony here. The system was built to count popularity. What it really measured was security maturity. And when I went through the reporting, one thing kept bothering me. We spend a lot of time arguing about hacked elections, as if the only threat is some faceless foreign operator in a dark room. Sometimes the threat is much less cinematic. It is paperwork that did not close an account. It is a vendor process that trusted yesterday longer than it should have. If that detail hits you as hard as it hit me when I read the federal filings, leave a like. Cases like this look small on the surface, but they expose huge weaknesses. The human impact here was not measured in stolen millions. It was measured in trust. Students were told a vote mattered. Families watched a public result. Then investigators said the process had been corrupted. For teenagers, that may be their first direct lesson in what a compromised system feels like. And that is not trivial. A manipulated school election does not crash the stock market. It does something quieter. It teaches a community that digital fairness can be staged. Once that feeling enters a community, it is hard to clean out. The legacy of the case is larger than the target. In 2024, the guilty plea put a federal stamp on something many people might have dismissed as bizarre local drama. It said this was not just gossip. It was a computer intrusion case with real legal consequences. The lesson, in my view, is not that online voting is automatically impossible. The lesson is narrower and more uncomfortable. So, the next time somebody says a small election does not matter, remember this case. A homecoming crown was enough to trigger a federal cybercrime prosecution. Not because the prize was huge, because the weakness was real. If true crime tech fascinates you, subscribe and join me here. Every week, we pull apart another real case from indictments, plea agreements, and investigative reporting. And next time, I want to show you another breach where old access should have been dead, but wasn't.